Hi, I'm Moy from Moy SUP School, and today I'm joined by Stuart of BodyFit Solutions here in Bridge Street, Witney. Today in this video we're just going to run through some nice, simple, low-impact exercises that will prepare you for paddling out on the water. These exercises you can do in the studio, in the gym, or even at home. And when you're out on the water, they can also be adapted for when you're on your board. So let's crack on and deal with the first exercise that we want to address.
When paddleboarding, you need to be pretty mobile in your muscles and tissue. One thing that can slightly reduce those things from happening is tightness in your muscles and fascia. Now, fascia runs through our body. It runs from head to toe. It's collagen-based. In fact, it's the only thing that can stand on its own on the human body, stand up on its own, which is pretty remarkable. Now, as we get older, the fascia becomes a little bit more dry and brittle, as we're not moving as much as our ancestors did and probably not drinking enough water. To help that, we do something called myofascial release, which is basically self-massage. And this can hurt, as Moira knows too well about, but it will help to the muscles and fascia to become more pliable and help them to be able to be mouldable in order to get up and down off the board and move generally better in places. We're going to show you a couple of releases. The first one is for the glutes. So Moira's going to take a seat on the ball. This can be done, however, with a foam roller. So you might have heard of the foam roller used for these. I just like the ball. I like the contour of the ball, the roundness. It's a little bit harder and it hurts a little bit more, so it helps to get the results. Now, we can go level one here. Alternatively, Moise can just going to bring the right foot up on top of the left, which helps to stretch that part of the glute tissue, a deep muscle called the piriformis. And it's tricky to balance on. I see Moira's arm wobbling around a bit there, but you kind of get used to it. You get used to the pain and the feeling, and ultimately you get used to being able to move better without feeling like an old person every time you get up and down. Second exercise we're going to try is one for the front of the body, front of the legs, called the quadriceps. In particular, we're going to work into the hip flexors first. So we just lie prone on top of the ball just below the hip bone. It's pretty straightforward. Once we've got the ball in position, it's kind of like a plank position, elbows underneath the shoulders. You just hold there, hold, relax, let gravity and then body weight rest on top of the ball to get that release and get the blood flowing through. Now, if we move just a little bit further forward there, Moira, and we'll lift off the ball and replace back down on it again. And we're just in increments, we're going to start to work it down that thigh and try and map out basically what we call hot spots. See where those tender spots are, rest on them, show moves boss basically, and just get rid of the knots and get rid of all the fascial distortions, we call them.
And I can feel my quads are really tight today, so this is a lovely exercise. And you don't need to think about doing any form of any other exercise. Just by doing this on a daily basis will help you so much. And again, I'm just working this ball down my quads, just releasing all that tension. And it's actually so relaxing to do.
Oh, it's good stuff.
Nice. So now we're going to talk about just releasing our hamstrings, aren't we?
Yes. Okay, so one of the key areas we need to work on when we're releasing the tight fascia is your hamstrings, which is the posterior line of the body, the back line of your thigh. These muscles can get very short and tight, especially as lots of us spend a lot of time sat behind desks and driving and such. Again, that can be problematic to when we're coming onto the boards. We use a mixture of balls for this. I mean, I've got a tennis ball, a lacrosse ball, or a hockey ball. I'm going to start with Moira just on a lacrosse ball. So what we do, we sit on a hard raised surface, like a chair or a table or something like that, place the ball on top, and then literally, simple as it is, sit on top of the ball. So it's right into Moira's hamstring there. And then what I want to do is sit up nice and tall. So we're going to sit up nice and tall, so we retract the navel, expand the ribs. Lovely, Moira, great posture. And then a slight hinge forward from there, Moira. Pause, and then what we do is slowly lengthen the leg in question. That, at the moment now, that is paying out length in your hamstring. And get to the point where the foot starts to shake, so that's about there. Good, hold that for a few seconds, and then gently release the leg back down. Lovely, Moira. And again, reiterate the posture. We sit up nice and tall, so we want to be neutral spine. And again, one more time, Moira, slowly extend. So as Moira lengthens the leg out, the hamstring is stretching, the ball's pushing in. It's giving it some lovely moisture to the tissue, getting some blood flow to these tight, crappy areas, and that's going to really help out on the board and in life. Feeling that?
Yeah.
Go.
Shaky legs,
Shaky Stevens.
It's really tempting to lift and retract your leg quickly, But the key to this is slow and steady to get the results.
100%. And keeping that back nice and long, sitting up nice and tall. So it's so easy for us to sit flumped and then extend the leg, which won't give you much back.
Stuart will vouch, I love to do things quickly, and trying to take things at a much slower pace is really challenging for me, but it's so worth it.
Absolutely.
When we're out paddling, being on our knees is actually an essential skill. We start all our lessons on our knees. We leave the riverbank or the slipway on our knees and return back on our knees, purely for safety purposes. Being on our knees is also really useful if we're paddling in high wind. We need to drop down low and power through the water. And likewise, if you're paddling on inland waterways or canals, you may have to duck down to your knees to avoid low-hanging branches and bridges. So being comfortable on your knees is actually really important. When we're paddling on our knees, we tend to do it in an upright position like this, but when we're relaxing, we tend to go back down to our haunches. Before we progress to standing up, as I said, we're on our knees, and we're in that position looking forward, and then bringing one foot up, and then the other, keeping our head up, keeping our back nice and straight, and putting our paddle in the water as soon as we're standing up. Now, as you'll see, as soon as I've stood up, I've got my knees nice and bent, and that will enable me to keep nice and stable on the board. So any imbalance that's going on, it can be counteracted by my nice soft knees. Now, Stuart and I are just going to run through some simple exercises to help you progress from that kneeling position up to standing up. Okay? So, if I just come and join Stuart on the mat here. As you've just seen, we've focused a lot on fascia release. And by being able to sit on your haunches, on your heels, is really important. If you find that you're having real difficulty in sitting on your haunches, on your heels, then we strongly suggest you adapt some of those fascia release exercises we've just run through with you. So essentially what we're looking for is for you to be able to transfer the position of your knee to your feet, like so, and then up again, like that. Okay? Nice and simple. If this is a real struggle for you, that's absolutely fine. It's not something that we do in our daily lives, is be on our knees. You can either use your paddle, if you've got one, or a broomstick. And again, hold it out in front of you as support. Take your foot up. Use that paddle as a support, or the broom as support, and up you come. And slowly back down again. Okay, anything you'd like to add to that, Stuart?
Yeah, if possible, when you're transitioning from a tall kneeling position like so, to a split kneeling position like this, where possible, just to involve better function. If you can push off your front heel as we transition from here to standing, that would be so much more advantageous, as opposed to you being too tight and pushing off your toes. Very much knee-based, it's going to hurt your toes, and so like, just go from the heel, push up, and then to the vertical. I'd find that, if I'm coaching people like Moira in this regard, that's what I'd be looking for as well, just to make it a little bit more, and help the longevity of your bodies and your movements.
So what I strongly suggest before you come for a lesson is just, a couple of evenings prior to any lesson or prior to getting back on the water, is just sit in front of the telly on the floor, sitting on your heels like so, and just relaxing down. If you are able to, even better, you can transfer one leg forward and really stretch out your calf muscles on your hamstrings. Really sit on your heels with your other glute, and again transfer it, and again sit on the other glute. Really stretch out the other hamstring. Okay, moving on. Contrary to belief, paddleboarding isn't just about shoulders and arms. Okay, you're giving yourself a full body workout when you're on the water. You're engaging obviously your shoulders and arms, but also your chest, your back, your obliques, your quads, your hamstrings, your calf muscles, and your Achilles. Okay, every single muscle in your body is working to keep you upright and paddling in a nice, effective manner. Now, one of the hidden muscles that we have is the core. And this little baby in here, little beauty, is the one that keeps you upright on your board. So in this next series of exercises, we're going to be looking at how we can strengthen our core, and in particular, how we can strengthen our quad muscles. Because as you become a more competent paddler, you'll be finding that as you stretch over, keeping your arms stacked in a nice vertical position, you're actually bending your knees to get that paddle in the correct placement in the water, in a nice vertical position. And then as you're paddling, you're bringing that paddle back to your toes and you're standing up, but still keeping nice soft knees. So the nice gentle action by using our quad muscles ensures that when we come off the water, we're nice and refreshed and relaxed, and we don't feel like we've exerted any part of our muscle groups.
There's lots of different styles of planks that I've come across personally over the last 20 odd years now. Some a little bit better than others. I'm just going to run through the two basic ones that I like to use with clients. First one is going to be a straight arm plank, and we're going to bring Moira's knees off the floor and extend the legs out. So it's a full body exercise. I just come in with the pole here just to show you what we're trying to look for. We're trying to look for a head position, shoulders and bum. And we're trying to minimise how much of the gap is on this pole there. So Moira knows how she needs to tilt her pelvis. All our clients do a body fit. And then we're just going to hold in that position. How's that for you, Moira? Yeah? Fine. Okay, have a little breather. So, the thing is with this plank, it works a little bit more than just your core. And my understanding of plank work is we need to work deeper into the transverse abdominals, which is the deep core. Okay? So the next plank I'm going to show you is a lot better. So we come down to the elbows for this one. And bring your elbows right underneath. So bring your elbows a little bit close together, please, Moira. And then go a little bit further forward so they're right in position. Good. And then what we do, we have the hips at about 45 degrees. Moira's going to lift her feet up. Good. So we've got the hips about 45 degrees. Again, still looking at this position. So this is arguably easier for Moira to stabilise on because there's no work with the legs, right? But what we're going to ask Moira to do now is keep neutral spine, suck in the belly, brace the deep core muscles, and then in her own time, slowly lift one knee just off the mat. But try and keep everything nice and still. So when you're ready, Moira, we do it really slowly. Good. Moira's shaking a lot more now from this one. Good. And then gently down. Good. Now reset that position. Just tilt your pelvis a little bit. Tilt, tilt, tilt. Okay, good. Now slowly on the right leg. Do it slowly. Take your time. So the idea is try not to let the body twist, turn. Basically, trying to let the body move. And if we get that just right, cool, you can have a breather. If we get that just right, those deep core muscles being what we call the transverse abdominals are going to really take up the slack. And if that takes up the slack, it's going to massively help you when you're on here, transitioning from tall kneeling to standing with the paddleboard. It's all good. Okay, another great exercise for your core muscles, which also brings in some good shoulders, some pecs, a massive amount of rotation, which is key with the boarding, is a bridge on a Swiss ball, and we're going to use a dumbbell to administer the work for the chest. So I'm going to give Moira a 5 kilo weight. You could go heavy, you could go lighter. I'm just going to roll down to a bridge. Good. Rest your head back. And so we're looking at shoulders, hips, knees being in a relatively straight line. And I'm just going to reach up one arm. Good. And then just going to press the dumbbell up and roll. See, there's a little bit of roll with the ball, and then bring the ball back. So there's a little bit of left and right rolling with the ball. So I can see Moira's rotation. Her thoracic spine is turning left and right with each press. Good stuff. Good. Hamstrings are working at this time as well, so that's an added bonus, as are the glutes, which is always a nice little touch.
You also feel this.
Yeah, good. Pelvic floor. Good. We could add 2 dumbbells to this, but I like the idea of 1 because it creates that more instability, so it gets you to think a bit more, work the obliques, work the trunk muscles, and in particular the thoracic spine. Just be careful you don't go too far back there, Mo. Yeah, there. So we're looking at that vertical line there, okay? Building up the shoulders, building up the pecs, working the core. Ticks a lot of boxes, this one. It's really nice.
Nice exercise.
Yeah? Cool.
So, as I mentioned earlier, when we're paddleboarding, these little beauties play a really significant part in ensuring that we get a really good paddle stroke and make sure that we come off the water feeling nice and refreshed and relaxed. So, the main exercise that we're going to address for our quad muscles is obviously squats. And Stuart's just going to run by the squat exercise for us. First of all, we're going to look at the normal squat, and then we're going to introduce a variation which may help you.
Okay, thank you, Mara. So what we look at is feet hip width apart on a general squat. And I like to get everything nice and tidy and parallel. So I'm just going to look and address my feet. Bring your feet a little bit closer together, Mara. Okay, and let's just, without me putting my 2 pence in. Let's just see how Moira will squat. So if you just do a few please, Moira. You're trying really hard to get the best reps here. Right, first rule of thumb when I'm seeing people squat, I'm looking for the torso being parallel to the shin bone. So if we just ask Moira to hold the next one down at the bottom, and how does that look? It's not far off, let's be honest, but I think Moira is taking a little bit more of a bowing action there. Okay, come back up, Moira. This is quite common. We find a body fit when we're teaching people. So we just raise the heels up now. So again, heavy on the heels now. Moira's going to go into the sit. Yeah, perfect. Watch you don't go down too low. So let's have a little look. So as Moira comes down.
And the temptation is to go down low when your heels are
But look at the difference. If you just hold that bottom point there, Moira, there. So we're looking at almost, yeah, it's pretty close to parallel, which I know we're going to get more benefit from that. And come back up again.
And I can really feel these burning, which is good.
Again, when we're going from off the paddle, when we're going from that split stance to stand, it's a squat variation. You could add weights to this, you could make it a lot harder. You could add little pulses, so I've got to ask Moira to do little pulses at the bottom, just to kind of develop those quadricep strength, more hamstrings, more glutes, just make it a little bit more challenging. Cool.
So when we're paddling, our paddle stroke actually involves rotation around our thoracic spine, okay? To ensure that our hands are in the vertical position, we're actually reaching over and twisting through our thoracic spine. It's a nice, simple movement like that. And so now, Stuart and I are just going to run through some exercises that are going to help you on dry land with that thoracic movement. So here we have medicine ball.
Medicine ball, 3 kilos.
So first of all, we're going to start off in a nice simple squat, okay? We're going to take the ball from one side and reach over to the other in a nice transverse action. Now, as Stuart would probably say to you, you need to keep an eye on your hip alignment.
Yeah. So we're trying to rotate thoracic spine, which is your mid to upper back. So as you can see when Moira starts in this bilateral stance, starts in this regard, and then we're coming up and rotating the ribs across to Moira's right. Okay? Trying to keep the pelvis relatively level and trying to keep enough deep core muscles switched on so we're not going to arch the lower back and ruin the whole exercise. Now this can also be done in a flip sense. So we could start, so if you want to bring it from that position there, Moira, and we could start with more of a chopping action down. So we're chopping down to the side, lifting up smooth. So this is more of a traditional wood chop, which again, if we're looking at specificity in regards to the paddleboard, as you move through the water, you are pulling. So this exercise epitomizes that pulling action as we squat down into it. Lovely, Moira. You could use dumbbells, kettlebells, anything else with a bit of weight to do that, but awesome, involves rotation.
Excellent. Another variation is a split stance. So, Stuart, you're going to have to run me through this.
Yeah. So if you bring your back heel up, and if you start with that, kind of come into a little bit of a lunge, we start off the back leg side and we rotate up to the front leg. Okay, lovely, Moira, and again. So this has a little bit of an accordance now to our gait cycle, how we walk, how we move through space. The reason we're going off the back leg and rotate to the front leg, if I take an exaggerated step, my body rotates to the front leg each time. Okay, nice, Moira? You can switch sides and do the same.
I have.
Keep the tummy engaged.
I'm ahead of you.
We get a nice stretch and a nice reach across the lats, nice stretch.
I'm really mindful about keeping my hips in a parallel position.
Absolutely. Okay, so I've now got Moira on a piece of kit called a BodyFit. This is a balance board, and again, it's kind of relative to what you find on a bodyboard. It'll create some instability, it'll make Moira think a little bit more, use Moira's motor skills, and just challenge her body more. Now, obviously we were talking about rotation earlier, so I'm now going to take this 4 kilo medicine ball, I'm going to stand adjacent to Moira. I'm just going to give it a little toss to the side, Moira's going to catch it, hopefully, there you go, rotate, and then bring it back to me. There you go. We can do this several times each side. What you'll find is as soon as Moira's hands touch the ball, her deep core muscles has to stabilise, she has to think, I'm not stepping off the ball, and I can make it a little bit harder from changing the angle slightly. Awesome, good. And now we can switch sides, and we can try a few the other way. Quite challenging, isn't it? And these bolsters can be flipped upside down, so they can be used both ways, get a bit more challenge.
So hopefully you've got something out of today's video. We've presented to you some nice low impact, easy to do exercises that will prepare you for getting out on the water that you can do at home, in the gym, or even on the paddleboard. So just really wanted to say thank you very much to Stuart
Welcome.
for today's instruction and guiding us through the exercises. If there's anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, look after your bodies. We only get one. Pay attention to the fascial releases. I've really found working with people over the last 15 years that's been a massive factor to help improve their mobility and set themselves a good foundation to build upon. It's no different from the paddleboarding, getting up and down off the board. I'm sure Moy will agree that the fascial release is key prior to then working on the strength side of things.
So if you'd like to know more about BodyFit Solutions, we're here in Bridge Street, Whitney, bodyfitsolutions.co.uk.
Yeah.
Great. And likewise, Moy SUP School, moysupschool.co.uk. And I look forward to seeing you out on the water very soon.